Welcome everybody. We're going to get started. Before we start, if everyone could just turn your phones on vibrate or just out of respect for our panelists here. My name is Ken Alazier. I'm director for our business interest groups here at Beta Gamma Sigma. I'm also an investment manager at Morgan Stanley here in DC. Thank you to Howard University and Marcus Booker for helping us organize this event.
Thank you. My name is Marcus Booker. I'm a second-year MBA student here at Howard University. Concentrating in actually marketing, so not finance, but so thank you, sincere thank you to BGS as well as the panelists for coming here to share your experiences with us and also share some stories that you may have to help us excel in our careers in the future. So thank you very much on behalf of Howard University.
Thank you. And the reason I wanted to organize an event like this is, one, for current students, for professionals in the market, and even for experienced professionals. I think it's just a great opportunity to network with other professionals in the area. If you're a younger professional, it's a great opportunity to learn from people who've been around a while, been in their field a while, and for you to learn how did they get into this, how the last few years affected what they currently do. Are there opportunities in their field? What are ways for you to stand out in the market if you're interviewing? And I think when you're in school, all you hear about maybe is investment banking and sales and trading, but there's so many different areas in finance for different personality types, so it's great to have that exposure, and I just want to thank our panelists once again for participating. So I'm going to kick things off. If each panelist, just starting with you, Theron, and we'll just go on down, could just introduce themselves, talk about what they do, and maybe a little bit on your background as well.
Good evening. I know it's hot in here, but still, good evening. I know if I take my jacket off, please forgive me. But no, I'm Theron Green. I actually am a small business banker and vice president with Bank of America. I actually cover the downtown DC area in reference to small business banking. I've been in banking for approximately 14 years. Even prior to that, I was in management with a small company straight out of school called Walmart. So management and finance are pretty much in my background. I've actually had a couple of different roles with Bank of America in global wealth management, small business banking, and even retail management as well. So I have a wealth of knowledge. And believe it or not, my degree is not in finance; it's actually in public relations. So if you see me waiting like Obama, that's fine. But that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Name's Bernie Richards. Said Bernard, you can call me Bernie. I want to get that from my mom when I'm in trouble. I'm actually an agency sales director with MetLife. Our office name is Gateway Capital Financial. We have 3 locations, one in Baltimore, one in Rockville, one in Falls Church. I manage a team of about 22 advisors. So we do comprehensive financial planning, anywhere from life insurance, investments, disability, long-term care. Basically what we're doing is showing people where they are today, where they want to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. I've been in the industry for 7 years now. Was named 2011 Wealth Manager for Morgan Magazine, and just got interested in another day that I'm nominated for 2012 as well. So,
Good evening. My name is Loretta Ramsey. I'm an executive recruiter at the Lucas Group, but that's actually my second career. So I'm a newbie starting out in that field. My past, I was an executive in finance in a variety of industries. So I have 30 years financial experience. Received my MBA from Northwestern University, where I was actually eligible to join Gamma Beta Psi. So I want to say hi, guys. And if you look at my career, I started out with Arthur Andersen, which back then, just shows you how old I am, was part of the Big 8. Left Arthur Andersen and joined a company and industry, and then spent several years in a variety of industries, including manufacturing companies, distribution companies, and a variety of industries. So I realized that I really didn't want to be in finance anymore, so when the opportunity to sell came up, I welcomed the chance to do something to start a second career.
Hi, my name is Lynn Koo. I'm currently working at Access National Bank. It's a business-focused commercial bank based out of Western Virginia. So it's been a long drive here today, 40 minutes, but it's not bad at all. I work in commercial lending department as a portfolio manager. I work with relationship manager to originating deals, from screening deals to closing. After the deals, the loan is closed, I would monitor the performance of the loan and make sure all the financial covenant is met, and also any maturity have to be addressed timely.
My name is Roger Edwards. I work at a company called Columbia National Real Estate Finance. We are a boutique mortgage banking firm in Washington, D.C., with another office in Baltimore and a servicing office in Columbia, Maryland. Total company is probably 30 people. We're not really a bank. We are basically real estate brokers. We're intermediaries between financial institutions that want to invest or lend in commercial real estate and the real estate community. The institutions that are putting money out in commercial real estate are institutions you've heard of, like life insurance companies like Allstate, Principal, State Farm. We work with banks sometimes, and we're also a Freddie Mac seller servicer. On the commercial real estate side, it's anything that's income producing: apartments, hotels, office buildings, grocery anchored retail centers. We are basically the middleman, and we put together real estate owners with money, and that's what we do. I've been doing this for 10 years, and I started out at Ernst & Young for 2 years prior to being at Columbia National.
Okay. And at Morgan Stanley, what I do is work in what's called wealth management. So our clients are individuals, their families, they're also family offices, they're not-for-profit organizations, endowments, companies. And we basically do financial solutions and planning. So everything from portfolio management to asset allocation to due diligence for fund managers. So clients could be anywhere from someone with $1 million to someone with $100 million. My background before that, immediately before Morgan Stanley, I worked in London as a emerging markets private equity investor for TLG Capital. And throughout my career, I've been in finance about 10 years, mainly investment banking and private equity. So on the sell side with firms like Lehman Brothers and M&A boutiques, and then a couple of private equity firms on the buy side. So what I want to do is, pet peeve I always had in your shoes was an hour panel and they only leave like 5 minutes for Q&A. So I'm going to ask the panelists some basic questions, and then we're going to leave about 20 minutes or so that way everybody has a chance to ask a question if they have one. So with that, if you guys could talk about, and in no particular order, maybe how you broke into your particular career or field, and then what advice you would have for whether it's undergraduate or MBA students or even experienced hires or career switchers, how in this competitive market when we're hearing about layoffs and Greece and all of that, how can they stand out in this competitive market?
Well, I guess I'll go. Well, first and foremost, how I broke into the field. Believe it or not, I was one of those ones who actually fell into this particular field. As I mentioned before, straight out of undergrad at Florida University as some around. I actually I actually accepted a position at Walmart in their management training program. I stayed with Walmart for about 3 years, but of course, retail management kind of burns you out really quick. I know working 80 hours a week and working a whole month that I had off, I kind of want something a little different. And so, believe it or not, I actually just looked in the paper and saw Nations Bank was actually hiring for personal bankers and of course, managers at that particular time. I said, well, I guess I'll try a personal bank and see what happens. But when I actually got into the interview, they looked at my experience and looked at my degree of being in public relations and communication. And they said, well, I don't think you want to do it for a personal banker. I think you want to do a management program. I said, great, no problem. I'd be glad to do that. And so that's how I pretty much fell into finance, and I've been there ever since. But But even during the time, of course, you definitely kind of grow as an individual, because one of the things they told me, even at the end, hey, there you be coaching, you do this, or what have you, you have a team of folks that you coach, or, personnel, that type of thing. They didn't tell me anything about selling at all. I had no idea I would be selling or what have you. But, because of these, some of the studies that I had in undergrad, because of my basic some of the communication skills, and of course, having a public relations background, I literally just fell into sales and finance, what have you. I've always been a math geek. What have you, being my mom was a teacher, so she kind of drilled math in my mind. So math has always been one of those things. And I was just talking to the professor. I actually started my undergrad years as an architecture major, but I ended up doing journalism. So I actually have an analytical mind, but I have the communication skills kind of go along with it. Those two things really mesh, finance. So that's pretty much how I kind of felt it.
I graduated from Towson University in 2005, and how I kind of got into it, I was originally a management degree, and after taking the first management course, I saw like it'll be a room like this, and there's 100-some people in this room. I was like, everyone's doing this, so I need to do something different. I always loved math, so I was like, oh, I'll take a shot at finance. It doesn't like money. But everyone could do it. It'd be really easy. Got an internship my sophomore year with an advisor in Towson with Lincoln Financial. And after seeing kind of where he had built his practice to, the flexibility, everything along those lines that he had built up to, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. He was on the golf course every Friday around 3 o'clock. Had myself and then 2 full-time assistants that were doing kind of work for him. I was like, yeah, this is definitely what I want to do. So I kind of got into that career. I started very early, and I would always recommend this is something that you want to do. You want to start early. I had the internship in my sophomore year. I started taking all the licensing exams my senior year, my first semester senior year. So by the time I was done and graduated, I had all the licenses and everything like that ready to go to get into the industry, which when I went to interview made my resume look a lot better than all the people that are just graduating didn't have those degrees and everything that they needed. So that would be the one thing I would say is that you want to get started early in this field, especially. Some of the classes I took that I found were very beneficial. It's a sales career, so those public communications, mass comm, acting. I took acting in college. You'd be surprised how much that helps out. But definitely public communications, everything along those lines is very important. And obviously the basic math courses are important. One of the nice things though with technology is that you kind of just plug it in the computer now and it spits out everything for you. So the math class, as well, is important to kind of know the basics. It's not the most important thing. The most important is having that personality and having those public speaking skills in front of people.
I was very fortunate because when I got out of school, the economy was doing really well. And I started with Arthur Anderson. I had an internship my senior year, and then the internship turned into a full-time job. So that's really interesting, but not pertinent to what we're seeing today. I think my second career is really, I got my job through networking. And if I can't stress anything more tonight, it's networking. Reach out to as many people as you know. Make sure everybody you know knows that you're looking for a job, what you're looking for, because you don't know who knows somebody. It could be the barber that knows the CFO. It could be like my last instance, I was consulting for a while. My golf pro gave me my biggest lead ever. So it's just make sure everybody you talk to knows your story and what you're all about. And that's what happened with me. I had met my present boss about 10 years ago. We stayed in touch, and one day he called up. He goes, you know what, the market's turning around. I'm really busy. How would you like to come to D.C. and help me build my practice? And for me, it was like a voice from heaven, calling. And so I just recently moved here from Florida, so looking forward to the winter. But seriously, I know, I saw it middle of October when it was snowing, and I'm like, what am I doing? Florida, the beach. But anyway, once again, networking, you guys. It really is the key to success.
I graduated from Virginia Tech in 2008. That was when the job market really started to slow down.
I would reiterate what Loretta and Lynn said. Networking landed me my job where I am today. I was at Ernst & Young, realized pretty quickly I didn't like it. Such a big institution, you're a real small piece in a big machine there. And so I networked, and I ended up finding my job through my roommate's girlfriend, who worked for a law firm that did transactions with my company. So that's how I broke into my company. One thing about networking, I mean, in commercial real estate, a lot of times they don't advertise the positions in the paper or on the job boards or with recruiters. They want to get people through networking, and so there's not a listed opportunity that you can find. So going to things, if you want to do commercial real estate, you go to Urban Land Institute or other associations that are affiliated with commercial real estate, and you're going to meet people there, and you start talking to people, and I think that's a great way to network. As well as through your schools, if you know you want to be in commercial real estate. Johns Hopkins has a master's program in real estate. That's an incredibly good networking community, because everybody there wants to be in real estate, and there's job boards on their website as well that are just dedicated to real estate.
And I'm glad you guys went into networking, and just wanted to get your thoughts on, you're at an event, someone meets you, they need a job, they take your business card, and then it's how would you recommend they go about following up and turning that initial contact into something meaningful down the road, and ideally it's mutually beneficial, because networking, I mean, one of the things I always tell students especially is you want it ideally to be a mutually beneficial relationship. So even if it's 20-80, it won't always be 50-50, but if you can add some type of value to the relationship, all the better. But how would you guys recommend students, young professionals, even experienced professionals in the market go about that?
When you reference networking, one of the things that I would definitely recommend is making notes of any major point that the person is talking to you about on the back of the business card. And so when you email them or kind of follow up with them, make it, let them know that you are listening. Hey, and of course, put it in the email, send it out, or what have you. And so when the receiver gets it, well, at least that person was really paying attention. Whereas, you talk to a lot of folks on a continual basis, it's different when you have one particular person that really heard exactly what you said, something, I have 2 children or something of that sort, but still, just to pick up one particular thing that a networker has told you, put in the email as a response, that kind of goes a long way, at least for me, at least this particular person was paying attention, because listening is very, very important when it comes to networking. You don't just want to kind of sell yourself, but you want to listen to what the other person says first, then sell yourself. That's my little.
Just to piggyback on that, absolutely, listening is key. Whenever networking, you want to be talking as little as possible, just continue to engage that person, ask as many questions as possible. And then whenever you do send that follow-up email or phone call, you definitely want to have something to sit back with that person and said, whether a hobby or something that you have in common, whatever the case may be, something like that would definitely be helpful. One of the things that we do in our office is we do a thing that's called a luggage tag program. When we're networking, we get the person's business card, and then we get back to the office, we turn it into a luggage tag, and send it back to the person so they put it on their tag and that's their business card. You'd be surprised, something so little that doesn't cost a lot gets a lot of very good feedback from those individuals, because on the back it's going to say provided by Bernie Richards, that life, and then it has their name right on the front. So people have it all the time, and usually what happens is, oh yeah, can you send me another 1 or 2? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. It takes 30 seconds. My assistant will get it out to you in a couple days.
What I would recommend is if you don't have a business card, even if you're a student, get a business card made up. Because when you go to these networking events, when we go, it's because we want to meet people. So it's, people wanting to meet people, so you want to give them something. and put like what you're looking at, your major or something on the back, of the kind of job you're looking at, contact information, and then to reiterate, make sure you follow up with an email reinforcing the conversation you had, you know, and attach your resume. It's not going to hurt. Ask that person if they wouldn't mind having a conversation with you, meet you for a cup of coffee, whatnot. Engage them. Sometimes they'll say, no, I'm too busy, but you never know. Somebody may just take the opportunity to meet with you and mentor you and help you along, and or pass your card on to somebody else.
I don't really have anything to add on to that, but I think you need to be very consistent in following up. Don't give up yet, 1 or 2 times, just don't give up yet. But give them some reason to give you some time to talk to you, to understand your background, strengths, weaknesses.
Yeah, I would say the goal should be to get a one-on-one meeting with somebody. We got somebody by themselves, they're going to spill their guts and tell you the truth. And also the goal should, once you get them by themselves, is to get 3 more people that you can go to. Because if they give you 3 more, then you got 3 more, and that just exponentially compounds on itself. And just tell them you want to network, and that's what you want to do. You want to learn about your business, especially for young people. It's, you can be naive, you can ask a lot of questions, and I think older people want to help younger people figure out what they're going to do with their lives.
Yeah, and I think my last word of wisdom here is don't wait till you get a job to network, please. Start networking well. Before then, ideally, it's long-term relationships that you're building. So even after you have a job, you ideally want to continue to build your network because, you know, down the line, one, you might need another job. But also, I mean, depending on the type of role that you have, if you can be instrumental in bringing in business or finding new relationships for your current employer, it's great to have those contacts already in place. So always be networking. And I guess my next question is, along those lines, when you're meeting a potential candidate, what really stands out to you? I mean, in other words, when you look, how would you rank academics, GPA, and test scores versus your personal interaction with the client versus their extracurricular activities? What sorts of things sort of stand out to you guys in your hiring process to make you say, oh wow, I'm going to pass this resume along?
I think a couple of different things stand out for me. Definitely as a manager, we look at past experience, look at academics, but especially during the interview process, we look at how confident the person is. If you come to your interview very, very confident, very knowledgeable about what the job is all about. Believe it or not, believe me, folks that come to hey, I'm here just to get a job. Whatever. Okay, do you know what the job's about? No, I just want to get a job. No. At least if you know what the job is all about and very, very confident about how you present yourself, professionally, of course, that definitely goes a long way as well. If you can definitely show some type of experience in the field that you're applying for, that definitely kind of goes a long way. But I think those are probably some of the things that is, for me, that I kind of look for in representing hiring particular candidates for. And again, it all depends on the type of job, but those are some of the typical things that I know I look for in representing hiring.
Yeah, I mean, I do about 8 interviews a week, so I get to see all ends of the spectrum, both ends. The biggest thing for me is the first impression. Everyone always talks about that first impression when you get there. So a firm handshake. You're coming to the interview, you're dressed, appropriately. You don't come in without a tie on, especially if you're trying to get into industry. It's very, very important. That first impression, being on time. And when looking at the resume, obviously having a college degree is very, very important. But I don't look at the GPA as much. I look at more of the extracurricular activities, so what they've done outside of school. Because everyone goes to school and get a degree, you show up to class, and it's not that hard to do. But I'm looking for someone that's going above and beyond. So joining the honors groups, the sports clubs, band, whatever, any other different clubs that you belong to, doing something outside of that really shows that initiative that you can network and get out there and meet the people. So that's a big thing for me. And like you said, is knowing what you're coming in for the job for is also important. One of the questions I always ask in interviews is, did you go to the MetLife website or the Gateway Capital Financial website? And people say, oh yes, and I say, oh, what'd you like about it? And they, oh, it was nice, or it was blue, or something. I'm like, yeah. So did you really look at it or did not look at it? So you want to always do that research on the job you're coming in for, because it's important to actually know what you're doing.
So we're all business majors in this room, right? How many guys have taken marketing courses? So you're all familiar with the concept of a brand. Each of us is a brand, you know, and we start our brand, and each of us started our brand by going to school and get really good grades. So that says something about who we are. So when we go about, and we now we make a statement about who we are as a brand. We're very successful people. We're winners. We're smart. We're in this organization. So then you've got to carry that brand forward in terms of the organizations you belong to. If you belong to an organization, which I really encourage, work towards a leadership role in that organization. That reinforces your brand. Dress appropriately to the brand you want to send. What is the message you want to communicate? This is my brand, this is my message. Carry it through in terms of your resume, your personal behaviors, your actions. And what you want to do is you want, like these guys were saying, act confidently. Everybody loves a winner. So make sure that you're portraying yourself as a winner in your way you approach the person you're dealing with, the piece of paper you gave them. You're at the meeting early, you've researched the meeting, you're demonstrating the willingness to go above and beyond. That's all we all got. We've all gone above and beyond to get good grades, so they have to carry throughout our career. So, you know, think of yourself as a brand. How do you want to sell your brand? And make sure your resume and your behaviors captures the brand that you're trying to portray.
Before you get the interview, it's important to have the right resume for the stage, don't go over one page. But you need to portray your skill sets, your experience, your coursework, so that it's fit with the job you apply for. And in banking, we need to know that you are really working hard and you have some quantitative ability. So show that on your resume. That will help a lot. That will get you an interview.
Yeah, I think everything everybody said makes sense. Do research, be prepared, dress professional. I think the little things too as well. Just for example, if I'm interviewing a real estate company, I go and look at some of their properties, so I can say I saw the property, and I can talk or say a few things about certain properties, and people remember that because not everybody's going to do it.
Yeah, and I'm glad, Loretta, you touched on this, your brand. I mean, and think of your brand throughout the entire process, not just the interview. So everything from your first interaction to each email you send. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've read a cover letter and it says, oh, I'm very diligent, and diligent is misspelled. or they have the wrong company on there. You know, just things like that. And when you're reading resumes, when you're reading cover letters, emails, phone calls, as a candidate, you're always being evaluated. So just think about what type of brand you're trying to present. And the other point is communicating where you fit in. I think it used to be, if you were smart, you came from a highly ranked school, you're a geography major, and you did well during the interview. Sometimes the employer would kind of take a little time to find where you fit in. Well, now I think you've got to do a lot more of that up front. So it goes back to researching the company, what they do, but then communicating, I see myself fitting in this particular department or this particular role, and not leaving it to them to do that work for you. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit here. Every day in the news we're hearing about Eurozone, and it's been a crazy past few years, I think, for all of us, particularly in finance. Credit crunch and the real estate market, and just how the last few years with the recession and everything, how they impacted your particular industry and your role in particular.
Okay. 2000, yeah, no, it's a pain point. 2008, or what have you. And this is when the financial meltdown pretty much started. At that particular time, of course, I was in the Global Wealth Management Department at Bank of America Investments. At that particular time, the bank was thinking about buying Merrill Lynch. Okay, Merrill Lynch, great company, what have you. 2009 rolls around, we buy Merrill Lynch. And guess what the bank decides to do? We're going to eliminate the legacy bank of America Investments and merge or what have you. So when they eliminated Bank of America Investments, they eliminated my entire division, so I lost my job. I got a nice service package, what have you. So great, after 12 years, this is what they do to me. And so yeah, I really felt, you know, the crunch. I felt like I get hit in the stomach or what have you. But it definitely taught me a lesson because you can't just sit around and just mope or what have you. You have to, hey, you know, I've got to move on. Got a nice service package, but I can't sit at home doing nothing for the next 6 or 7 months when they collect my service package. It started networking pretty much, and so I actually reached out to one of my old bosses. He was actually the director of retail banking and industrial bank right up the street. And so he actually went there, you know, I know everybody knows that Bank of America just laid a whole bunch of folks off. Hey, why don't you just come over here and manage a branch for me for a while until, you know, until something else pops up. Great, no problem at all. So that, again, that was a result of networking. And so at that particular time, I had 2 checks coming in, so I was living life. Even with that, even another opportunity came up with another bank, SunTrust Bank, in the business banking realm. There we can do this for you, do this for you, what have you, because of your background. And again, that was another result of networking as well. So that happened. And so even after that, my old boss at Bank of America, who was my boss prior to being laid off, said they're starting this new small business banking thing again. They want you to come back. I said, okay, well, they want me to come back. This is what I want. Well, this, and this. And so they did it. And so I'm back at Bank of America now. But again, all that was a result of experience, networking. And so I felt the brunt of the layoffs and everything. But again, being able to kind of bounce back again because of the networking, because of the past experience, past the accomplishments that I had done, I was able to pretty much start like I never left the bank in the first place. So here I am again. So again, I definitely tell you, networking is definitely key.
We haven't had a big impact on it a lot. Fortunate, being in our industry, there's been a lot of companies out there that have went under. You know, it's been kind of an advantage for us because MetLife, our brand, we're the #1 life insurance company in the U.S., the #1 annuity provider in the U.S., we provide benefits to 93 out of the top 1,400 companies. Everyone knows MetLife, we're a very secure company. So we've actually, our business has been booming. In 2008, when everything started going down, our office, we were up 19%. We're actually the #1 office in all of MetLife. Last year, we were up 17%. This year to date, we're up 18%. So we haven't had any major problems. I look at it, people always ask me that in interviews, you know, what's going on? Why do you always have a job open? Why are you still hiring people? And I tell them it's because, you know, our office, we're very, very fortunate. We're consistent in the top 5 or 6 in the nation. We've actually taken over all the other offices in the state of Maryland. If you look in Maryland, there's only 2 offices. They're ours. For MetLife. We just took over the office in Falls Church as well. So we have been growing and expanding, and that's why we have to continue to hire new advisors. And I always tell people it's kind of an industry where the market's not doing really well. Unfortunately, people are losing jobs, having to transition to different careers. Well, when that happens, 401ks have to be rolled over. People need life insurance because they don't have it outside. They need it outside. So that's where we come in. The economy's doing really well, complete opposite end. People have more money, discretionary money to save. They need more life insurance, they need more coverage from every other aspect. So that's where we come in and take care of that. So no matter what's kind of going on, is I look at it as a positive mindset that I'll always have a job, which is good. But obviously when the economy's doing better, it makes my life a little bit easier.
So what I just heard is I should need to join the insurance company. Job? I probably was like there, and I was deeply affected by the recession. If you looked at my brand historically had been I was a change agent. So I was, I helped companies move from one place to another place and worked with people, processes, systems to upgrade them to support where they were going. So I joined this company in Florida, and they were going gangbusters. They support the construction industry, and they had been growing over 10% each year, and they're at 2.6 billion, forecasted to be 5 billion in 18 months. But they were a mess procedurally and organizationally. So I and several other people were brought in to help them put the people, processes, and systems in place to accommodate the growth. Well, that was great, except for they started shrinking rapidly as the construction industry melted. So when I was laid off. So it was hard because I needed to, I'm rather old, I shouldn't say that way, but I'm in Florida, my house is worth considerably less. The job market's shrinking, they're not looking for people for managing growth right now because the American economy is shrinking, so my brand really wasn't a popular brand at the time. So I had to do some deep soul searching in terms of what was I going to do with the rest of my career. What did I enjoy doing? What didn't I enjoy doing? And what I realized is maybe I've grown finance in corporate America in terms of business. So I decided that selling is what I like to do because I had some opportunities with sales organizations reporting to me in various positions throughout my career. But also, I'd always been a developmental manager. That was my brand too, is I liked taking people and developing them so that when they left me, that they had more skill sets they had prior to working for. So I really was fortunate that I was able to get this job at the Lucas Group and once again recreate my brand and start over. And I think I've made lemonade from lemons. So keep looking at your core skill sets. It may not be what your field is and expand yourself.
For my case, the recession impacted me at the beginning when I looked for a job out of school. But right now, I think the big thing lost is our game. Our game was able to attract a lot of talents that got laid off from big things because our game have been very strong. We've been profitable every quarter except for the first 6 months since we were established in 1999. We have very little exposure to mortgage-backed security. We have some exposure to real estate, but not the exotic products. So we've been very good.
Well, my business is commission-based, so capital dries up, and there's no transactions, and there's no development. And everybody's already refinanced because between 2000 and 2007, rates were going down. There was a lot of development, a lot of transactions, and there was a lot of capital. 2008 to really 2010, wasn't much going on. And what do we do? What can you do? You just white knuckle it, hold on. We didn't fire anybody, we didn't lay anybody off, and we didn't make any money for about 3 years. But real estate's a cyclical business. So a lot of the older guys in our firm knew, downturn was coming. I don't think anybody knew to the extent it was coming. But the whole point of our sort of business is you make money in good times, and you probably make more than you probably should. You squirrel it away, and that takes you through the bad times.
All right, well, at this point, I'd like to open up Q&A to you all, and so you have the opportunity to ask questions that are on your mind. Courtney?
What is I guess for all the panelists, what is the typical work week like for you? Like, is it 40 hours, weekend, 60 hours?
Well, I can tell you, there was always this myth, even when I started with the bank, banker's hours, just work, 5 hours a day, 5, 6 hours a day, go home or whatever. In the beginning, that's all it was, especially coming from retail. Oh God, the bank used to close at 2 o'clock or what have you. Not even. But for what I do now, it's pretty much a sales-driven job, and so I get calls even 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. Clients, email me, that type of thing. So the typical work week, it could be 40 hours one week, it could be 50 hours next week. It could be. It's very, very flexible. Even though my job is very, very flexible, it's not a typical 40-hour week, I can tell you that.
I completely agree. I worked very hard to kind of get where I was. When I first started, I was at the office at 8 a.m. and didn't leave until 9. Sometimes I get until 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. And then even Saturdays, working Saturdays 9 to 12, 1, 2, 3, depending on what's going on. I will say I don't work that hard now. But anyone getting into this is expected to work, we say, at a minimum, usually 60 to 70 hours a week. Because you're building your practice, you're kind of starting from the ground up. You got to start something, lay those foundations. So usually after a couple of years, you can scale back. But even then, you're working 50 hours a week. I don't really know a job that has 40 hours a week anymore.
And I typically work whatever it takes to be successful. So, because I also typically tend to be one who goes above and beyond. My hours tend to be 12, 13 hours a day. But you have to decide what you want to do and how you want to live your life, and that'll pretty much determine what you want to put into your job.
This depends on what position you are in. If you're in a transaction-driven position like lending, 40 hours is not right. You cannot get by. You'll be not in the same position if you just spend 40 hours at work. So I would say coming in Saturday can be normal at some time. Working until 8 or 9 is normal too.
Yeah, I would agree with all that. Starting out, I wasn't as efficient or productive as I am now, so I had to work a lot harder, working weekends, working late, and now I don't have to work those hours. But if you're not working, generally in my business, you're not making money. The nice thing about kind of today's world is everybody's got a BlackBerry. Everybody can work from a laptop, so it's pretty easy to work from home or anywhere you want to be.
Next question?
First of all, I'd like to apologize for being late. I'm sorry. I was saying about my question is primarily for those of you that, can you hear me?
Yeah.
That currently do hiring. How much of an advantage is it when somebody comes in and already knows how to use capital IQ and or, for instance, a Bloomberg terminal?
Again, it all depends on what type of job you're looking for. For a business banker, that's great. But one of the things that we kind of look for, are you able to kind of sell yourself and put yourself out there and communicate well? It's great to know all the information, how to find that information, but to be able to sell it is a whole different ball of wax. And so it's good that you have that knowledge. It's just trying to put that knowledge to practice. That's pretty much what it is, especially in the sales driven job. So it's good that you know that information, but putting it into practice is a whole different thing.
I would agree. I would say having that knowledge of how to use it is important, but I'm sure with like any career, there's specific ways that we want to use it. So having an idea of how to use it is important, but you still have to learn the way that we want you to use it to make it so that you will be successful, because that's what you want to do, is you want to be successful. So it's important to have a knowledge of it, but once you get in there, you'd be surprised how much more you actually have to learn on top of that.
It's not going to tell you the story.
No, we don't really need Bloomberg or capital IQ, so it's not applied to my industry.
Yeah, coming from the investment banking side, I will say if your role is more analytically driven, like research analyst or investment banking analyst, and generally more junior of an employee, it probably is more important, I think. It helps if coming in, you're at least familiar with it, but it's definitely not the end-all be-all, and you could end up using a totally different type of software, but your experience, I think, will be helpful in adapting other different types of software, but it's not the end-all be-all usually. Here in the front.
My name is Daryl C. I'm a first-year MBA candidate at Georgia. My question is,
I agree, brother.
knowing what you know about the financial industry now as a whole, you could start all over from the beginning. You still choose the same area of finance, or would you choose another?
That's a very good question. No one.
I mean, I would probably go towards something that I think is going to be a growth long-term industry where technology is going to grow. It's going to be expanding in ways you can't even imagine. Pretty much a middleman, and I think eventually middlemen will be, I mean, not in my lifetime, but I think eventually they're not going to be, around a lot more.
I would have to agree with that. Technology is where you want to be. Just keep growing, keep changing your job. Your job will be there. So banking, we're just middlemen. And of course, company will need funding, will need capital, will need to raise capital. But it's very cyclical, whether you want to be in that industry or not, this organization. The technology is all there. So, like you see that your friends graduate from with a computer science major and have a better chance of getting a job than a business major.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't think I would, I mean, if I look back at my career, I think I would have gone into what I've done now and stayed with it. But I think I had made some decisions that I didn't do the teams correct, and I'll give you one. I was an internal auditor for American Hospital Supply, and that meant I traveled 80% of my life. So I forget how many, every Sunday night I was on an airplane, and every Friday night I was coming home, and I got tired of it. So I deliberately chose my next, but I was getting great experience. I was getting a lot of international experience, However, my next job, I deliberately chose a job that was U.S.-based, Helene Curtis. And what I didn't read the tea leaves is America was expanding overseas. We were doing the global economy. And I cut myself off from having that global experience that I had had earlier in my career that made it later in my career. So my advice is as you're managing your way through your career, look where the market is taking you with technology or whatnot, and kind of aim for that. But be careful, be broad enough that you're not focusing yourself too narrow.
I would say technology is a great field to be in. Healthcare isn't going to go away anytime soon. Everyone's getting sick all the time. And then, for me personally, I can't see myself doing something else. This is a job where my day is never the same. I'm out on the road. I'm not in the office all the time looking at the computer, so that's good for me. I'm meeting a lot of people, and that just suits my personality well. I like to talk to people. I like to get to know people, and help people. So for me personally, this is kind of my field. But if it was going to be something else, I guess maybe pharmaceutical sales or something. Something like out talking to people, doctors, all that kind of stuff. So, but this is definitely my
I think, finance and banking, it's just me, it's my personality. I probably would have done some decisions a little different other than my career, just case in point. My boss, one of my bosses, there was a position, a great position that was open, would have fit me very, very well at that particular time. I wasn't confident enough in myself to actually apply for the position. But after the position was filled, my boss pulled me to the side, man, why didn't you apply for the job? You would have done well for the job. And of course, it's always been a thorn in my side. Man, I couldn't apply for this job or whatever I'm doing. So, but that kind of goes to show you have to be confident in what you're doing now, that you be able to, all they could have told you was no. All they could have told you was no, fine, and move on. And so that's the approach that I take with pretty much everything now. When I first job, great, they might be paying $1 million a year. Hey, sure, I'll apply for this. All they can tell me is no. But what they tell you, yes, what happens. So that's very, very
You have to find something that you have passion in, because you're going to spend a lot of time doing it. So just you don't have to go to train or anything. You just have to look for something you really love to do.
And that's what I was going to say. I mean, technology obviously playing a bigger and bigger role in finance, but I don't know that that means you should be a programmer or going to IT necessarily, unless you have a genuine passion for that field. But I do think it means you're going to need to be able to really understand it and grow with it. I mean, now, if you're in finance, if you've got to build your practice, there are a lot of tools now today using technology that enable you to be a lot more effective than, I mean, even 10 years ago. So I think it's more about adapting with it than, oh, tech is big, now I'm going to be a programmer. I mean, I don't know if that's the way you should look at it. But next question?
All right.
White shirt.
Good evening, my name is Rachel Tier. I'm a second year MBA student at Detroit, Michigan. My question is just in light of the heightened regulatory environment, if you guys could just address if any new regulations have really changed the way that you make your business.
I can tell you about the bank, especially banking, especially with the regulations where banks can't charge all the overdraft fees that they used to charge. And so that kind of led a lot of the banks to, okay, well, let's rethink how can we charge a fee. I'm sure you've heard the news. Never heard about that one? And so that's why why Bank of America, even some other banks start charging the debit card fee, whatever. Well, of course, they kind of repealed that. But because of the regulatory environment, banks are kind of thinking of other ways to try to make money because overdraft fees are a huge revenue driver for banks. I can tell you that. I mean, it's $1 billion driver for the banks. Every year, the banks are always going to count on, hey, we can charge the overdraft fees, but now we can't do it. And so now they're trying to make ways to kind of make up that gap there. So the regulatory environment is a huge driver for the banks. And again, even years ago, when banks used to be just within particular states, you couldn't do interstate banking. And so now, of course, banks are acquiring banks from East Coast to West Coast. And so the regulatory environment is always going to be a driver for our business, especially within the bank.
Dealing with people's money, there's more regulations than you could even imagine. Anytime we do any sort of sale, we have to have documentation upon documentation upon documentation of why it is suitable for that client. And even if we say on our local level that it's suitable, once it gets to our home office level, at that point it's reviewed again. And then even then, they can send back a flag that says, hey, you need to give us more explanation. And then at that point, then they send a letter out to the client. If the client says, oh, they didn't understand everything fully, once they get the letter, then it comes back again. So there is a ton of regulation going on right now, which I think is very, very good because looking in the past, there has been some unsuitable things that have been done in our industry. But, it's going to kind of roll with its way of doing business now. So.
No, I'm not in a regulated industry, so I guess.
The Dodd-Frank Act, there's a lot of regulation that impacts our balance sheet. We monitor our balance sheet very closely. That also affects our lending policy because we became stricter in originating loans. So I think that's the biggest impact we can see on some policy.
It hadn't really affected our industry.
Next question? Yeah.
Hello, my name is Kwak Dusay. I'm an analyst with Deloitte Consulting. My question for you all is kind of bouncing off is, looking back at your career, are there any regrets that you have or anything that you would have done differently now that you know what you
I would just, I started with my internship, which was great, so I don't have any regrets there. My first job actually got me in the industry. My only regret there is staying there for as long as I did, because I was in there and they said, once you're here, everyone's here for about a year, year and a half max, and then you're gone. And I was like, oh, that's not me, that's not the type of person I am. When I go somewhere, I'm committed. That's the type of person I am to stay for as long as possible. So if I would have left about 6 months earlier, I would have been a lot happier than I am now, but that's about the only change over right now.
Mine is going to probably shock you guys. I wish I would have had a better business, personal life balance. I'm way too skewed towards business. And there's some regrets I have in terms of my personal personal life that I can't get back. You know what I mean? There's a lot of money in the bank. At the end of the day, that's great, and it means a lot. You know, but it's not the end all to life. Life is more than just a paycheck and savings. So I suppose those are probably some of my regrets.
I've been working for 4 years and it's been great so far. I don't hear any regrets, yes. Hope
Yeah, I wouldn't say I have any regrets. I think I feel really fortunate to have landed a firm that's treated me so well for so long.
I think probably the only regret I had is, you know, not doing what I really wanted to do from the very, very beginning. You know, you kind of find yourself, you know, being this job, you're miserable in the job, but once you really find the job you really like it, it clicks. And that's what happened when I actually joined the Nation Bank of America with that. But, you know, Walmart was great. You know, first job straight out of school, but I should have started when I was in college. That was a problem. That's probably the only regret that I had instead of going to Walmart. But I take that back. Well, I think Walmart did teach me work ethic. It did teach me work ethic. Ran me in the ground, but it did.
Yeah, I think it just starts with exposure, talking to as many people as possible just to get different perspectives and exposure to different areas within finance. But next question, second to last, and then you'll be our last over here.
My name is Jakar Barr, and I'm a second-year MBA candidate, and I'm from Lansing, Michigan. Also, I am a family alum, so I just thought I'd throw that out there. But my question is, just given, you know, some of the other questions that we practiced with the, you know, recession that we've gone through, but just with the current economic state, we previously had a speaker that talked about, you know, we're not necessarily in a recession, we're kind of in a reset mode. So I guess my question is kind of twofold. So how do you feel about that statement? And if so, how are your individual organizations kind of resetting like the framework of your consumer base and how they're, you know, coming out of that?
Well, you know, of course, it's Bank of America stuff. I'm pretty right. I kind of agree to a certain extent with this particular statement, and again, being on the ground level and actually being, you know, talking to customers all the time, and seeing that, you know, stock price is not going up as fast as it should be, or not splitting as it once did, and just seeing the consumer confidence within the banking industry period, i.e., let alone Bank of America itself. And so, yeah, I think we're on an upswing, but we're still kind of feeling that bottom out a little bit. I don't think we do it, and again, this is just my personal opinion, I don't think we're going to do a double-dip recession. I don't think that. But how the bank is trying to make adjustments to it, I think that was the last part of the question. How we're trying to make adjustments to it, again, because of the regulatory environment, we're trying to find ways to, again, make up some gaps in reference to some of the acquisitions that we've done, some bad acquisitions that we've done. In addition to some of the limits on the regulatory environment also imposed as well. And so we're definitely trying to find ways to, again, make up revenue that we kind of lost as well. So hopefully that answers your question.
I'm fortunate enough to deal with a lot of different mutual fund companies, so like Fidelity, T. Rowe Price, Lake Basin, Merrill. So I get a lot of insight, not just from our MetLife level, so industry-wide. What I have seen from, it's kind of repetitive from company to company, is that we're kind of in this ceiling and floor window. If you're looking at the market, where you're going to see over the next 2 years is we're going to kind of be like this, in between the ceiling and floor. And where they all have their kind of numbers if you're looking at the Dow, but for the most part, we're kind of going to be in this little position for the next 2 to 2.5 years, 3 years, depending on who you're talking to. So I agree. I don't think we're going to see another double dip recession. It's going to take some time to get back to where we were, what everyone's accustomed to. But that being said, MetLife, we're actually trying to, right now, we're in a position right now, we're making ourselves, I guess you want to say, less competitive. We had guarantees of 6%. in June, that dropped down to 5.5%. That now, we just refiled to go down to 5% starting in January. So in 6 months, went from 6 to 5.5 to 5 pretty quickly there. So they're on the investment side, they're becoming more less competitive, if you want to look at it that way. But on the insurance side, they're actually lowering rates to try and develop that side of the market for them.
I definitely agree with you guys, and I think things have gotten pretty far to one side. You know, we send too many jobs overseas, whatever reason, we're spending too much. And so I do think this is a serious reset period. And I think, frankly, that the economy has glimmers of hope, and you're starting to see it, but you don't hear it on the TV news. Coming from Florida, I can see the housing market improving significantly. And if you look around, you do see raising hope. We just can't let the news media squash any confidence we have because they don't make money when they report good news. My industry hasn't really been affected, other than that we have to be more creative, and it's tougher out there to make money, so we've got to be better at what we do. So I think efficiencies and ability to source people and relationships are all more important now.
I also agree with the statements, especially for our area. We've been very blessed with government support. I met so many entrepreneurs that have great ideas, but they have a hard time getting funding for their business because of the recession impacted historical performance and also their personal size. So when they present that to the bank, it's harder for them to get a loan. There's a program called Small Business Administration Guarantee Loan, whereby the government, the SBA guarantees a loan for small business. So that program has been a great program providing funding for small business.
Yeah, I mean, at the reset, it's depends on, I guess, what you're comparing it to. 2007, well, I'm just talking about my business right now, was an off-the-charts year, and that's not a normal year. We're certainly doing half of the business we did in 2007. Is that going to stay like that? I don't think so. Real estate's cyclical. It's going to come back. Eventually, it's just when. I kind of put the economy in the same boat. It's going to come back. I think we're resilient. I think people will figure out a way to make it come back. It's just when. Hopefully, it's not 10 years like Japan's last 10.
So we're a little bit over, but I want to get to our last question very quickly here.
Good evening, my name is Thomas Book. I'm a recent grad at the State University Media Program. My question is, for all of you in your financial trust and in your careers, did you have any mentors? And if you did, what wisdom and insight did they impart on you that you might share with us, if it was valuable or had a great impact on your career?
I have a couple different mentors. I actually have a mentor, a personal mentor, a mentor at church, and of course a mentor at work as well. And all the mentors have told me that leaders are readers. So, and read pretty much everything. Any type of management book, any type of leadership book. Pretty much, again, I was always go back to the phrase leaders are readers, and so I always try to pick a mentor somebody that you want to emulate. Maybe if that's a position that you want to go for, you want to talk to that particular person in that position. Well, how did you get to this position? What are some of the things that I need to work on currently to kind of help me do that as well? And so definitely a mentor. And again, the reason why I have three, just to kind of get three different perspectives. Again, personal one from church and one from work. So those are some of the things that my mentor told me.
I would 100% agree that you need to have more than one mentor because you're going to get as much advice as possible. I'm lucky enough in our office, our managing director that oversees the 3 offices is in the Hall of Fame for MetLife. He's very, very successful and he's in his early 40s. So having him there, to be able to meet with him twice a month is a privilege. He doesn't have a lot of time on his calendar. So I would definitely have many mentors. I have a few, and one of the things, like you said, is the continued education. You never stop learning. You never stop reading in this industry. There's a ton of seminars all the time that are free. So I just get as much information as possible when you're out there, and just never stop. I mean, we're always trying to, we're always studying for different destinations in this industry and reading books, so just, it doesn't stop once you graduate.
You know, when I look back at my career, I had formal mentors and I've had informal mentors. And I think I've learned more from my informal mentors, and they take two different, I'll subdivide them into two different groups. My informal mentors may have been people I worked with, either direct bosses or indirect bosses, and we'd have conversations, and I used to listen to what they say. It's not that I believed everything that they would say, but I would triangulate, and you know, if they said this, and if they actually lived it, behaved it, and I saw the success, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, that's what I need to do. But I also was studying people, and I would see people that were very successful, and I would, you know, start to see how they dressed, how they approached themselves, how they carried themselves, and if they were successful, I would emulate them. So it's, you know, it's a combination of all three, really. It makes, you know, helps to guide you in the future. And parents and your parents' friends can be great mentors as well.
I don't have an official mentor, but Access, my company, has a very nurturing culture. Basically, I can go to any senior management office and ask them questions, and they've been very helpful with that. I think the best advice is, you know, to learn to empty your cup. That means, you know, when you first graduated, you thought you know everything. You know, everything you know is new, is updated, and everything. So you need to sort of empty yourself and absorb new information in.
Yeah, I had a mentor. I was an analyst for 3 years for a guy I worked with, and he taught me a lot. I'd say the most important thing that I think in choosing a mentor is character, the person. A couple things that he told me, and some other people told me that I think are good advice. He told me you get paid for thinking in our business, and you always got to keep your mind going and thinking about what you're doing. Another thing is you should always own your work, and think about how your work, because when you start out, you know, a lot of times it's a bigger project and you just have a little piece of the project. But you really got to own that work and be responsible for it, and try to figure out how it fits into the bigger picture of the overall task. That just makes you understand it better. Another thing is, something my father told me once, and it stuck with me, is your job, you know, right when you get out of school, is to support the other folks. And if you make their life easier, then you're going to be indispensable. So that's what you should keep in the back of your head every time you try to make a decision. You make their life easier.
All right, thank you for that. Before we head into our reception, I also want to recognize that also here from the Lucas Group is Renee, back there, Renee Graves. And then also here from MetLife is Chuma right next to her. So as we go into our reception, you guys are networking and everything. Just feel free to speak to them as well. But you have an announcement?
So thank you all for coming. I want to introduce myself. I'm the president of the local Beta Gamma Sigma chapter. And I would like to also introduce some of the other board members to the rest of the crowd. Many of you have seen them before at the networking event, but I see many new faces, so it's good that you get to know them. Let me call Courtney. You can come to the front. Come on. And then Pamela and Kara. Kara. All right, so and then we have, of course, in addition to the 4 elected people that you see on my left, including myself, we have additional Emil. He is and legit, please. I just want to make sure everybody knows. So, who you after this event, you can talk to us and talk about other events that may be coming up. I want to discuss what else the chapter you would like us to do. So we are open for feedback. And did I miss anyone?
Our past president is there.
Yes, Meg. Yeah, from the previous year. And so we're all here to you know, make this BGS Alumni chapter a better in community. And so we look forward to your feedback. And yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We just want to thank you guys all for coming. I know it's unbearably hot. Thank you for taking the time to do this. This was great for students and even people like myself who've only been working like 2 or 3 years. Thank you so much for your time. So we have gifts.
So while she's doing that, please join me in giving our You guys did a great job. After this, we're going to have a reception out here, pot bellies and some drinks, and feel free to, talk to any of us. And if you've got additional questions, feel free to just come up to us. But thank you for coming.